This time I have a huge number of new demos and playtests to tell you about, and of course updates for your favorite already playable and upcoming RTS games. It is always my pleasure to start off another RTS news video with the latest update from the developers of D.O.R.F. So this time we have a showcase of how vehicles use physics to move and without an underlying grid. This is something a few people know about, but it is the cause of sometimes strange movement units have in RTS games, especially around objects or when crossing elevated terrain. Now, to keep this kind of movement system from producing strange effects of its own, devs implemented an actual suspension simulation. This is why vehicles now have this bounce when crossing uneven terrain. You might be wondering why they are spending time on this and not making a demo version or opening a playtest. Well, on one hand, it makes the game far more realistic looking, while on the other, I don't know. But I can't wait to ask them in the next interview I plan to have with them, and for which you have already posted dozens of new questions for me to ask. But I don't mind adding more to the list, so if you have them, post them in the comments, and if you missed the previous interview, check out the card on the top right or link in the description of this video. There you will also find links to all the other games I will be talking about in this video. Since Dawn of War's 4 marketing campaign is in full swing, which is expected since it will be released in 2026, we just got a whole load of info and videos about the Orc faction and its characters. The only downside is that the publishers of the game made an exclusive agreement with IGN, so most of the videos first show up there and some are even exclusive to them. Anyway, what we have learned from these is that we are going to have a choice between two orc war bosses, these being Gorguts and Gazkata, one from the Bad Moon clan and the other from the Snake Bites. Gorguts has his signature mega armor with both melee and range combat abilities and even a teleport, while Gazkata starts off on foot but can be mounted on a Squigosaur and with that gain not just an ability to charge into battle, but for his mount to eat his opponents as well. Most orc units are making a comeback with some additions like the Beast Naga Boys as quick hog riders, while their bases will be the cheapest to construct and their units fastest to gain veterancy levels. Their signature WOW faction power is back, and once you fill its meter by having more units or destroying enemies, you can activate it as a sort of a boost. With it, units enter a berserker state, gaining increased combat effectiveness, speed and strength. For all you Age of Empires fans, and particularly those still enjoying the huge variety of civilizations present in the definitive edition of the second game of that franchise, I have news about the latest expansion, titled The Last Chieftains. It will be released very soon, on the 17th of February to be exact, and takes us to medieval South America. This obviously means we get to play with several totally new civilizations, and each of the three has its own unique units. Some get special cavalry, others range units which use javelins, and the last heavy infantry and archer. As you would expect, an expansion wouldn't be complete without additional single-player campaigns. This time we get 3, and Europeans do show up, while the stories are centered on South American tribe characters and chieftains. The setting alone is stunningly beautiful, and devs added both native plants and wildlife to these maps. What I also must mention is the naval gameplay update coming with this expansion to Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition. It is focused on new ship technologies, map elements, as well as new animations and icons. Interestingly enough, besides adding 2 entire ship lines with hulks and catapult galleons, devs are making it possible to gather gold from whales in open seas by fishing ships, and if you garrison those into a dock, it will fire arrows at enemies. Now, on the subject of expansions, something similar is coming on February 10th for Age of Mythology Retold in the form of an expansion pass. It is going to contain several content additions, including gods, minor gods, myth units and fully voiced mythical battles. It is going to culminate over the summer with Aztec gods and a campaign with a dozen missions, but the first content update is called Dimitri God Pack. It brings a new major Greek goddess, her unique power, along with 3 minor gods, units and one of the new mythical battles. I am personally not a fan of expansion passes and being nickeled and dimed for new content in such a way. We will see soon enough what is the overall player base view on this once they all vote with their wallets. The player base is very strong, even growing slowly, so you have lots of people to play with in multiplayer. Another developer and publisher who is doing the nickel and dime tactic and for a while now is Relic Entertainment, particularly with their Company of Heroes 3 game. I think I made my view on this clear in my previous videos, and the DLCs are of both different quality and content as shown by the reviews players left about them on Steam. So besides a new major and minor patch for this game, which tried to fix the multiplayer balance, which is of course always burned down into cinders every time new units, battle groups and their abilities are added to the game, developers announced plans for content in 2026. These include not just new cosmetics, which I don't honestly mind as a source of income for a developer who is without a publisher right now, but also more new battle groups. These are just again going to burn down all balance and annoy more players. And yes, they did announce more maps too. Do note the mentioned updates have touched on almost all gameplay mechanics and a lot of units in their combat performance, so if you're still playing the game, let me know how the balance feels to you now. The next new RTS game you can start testing is Crimson Freedom, whose devs are going to open their brand new demo version to you all on the 16th of February, downloadable on their Steam store page. It is going to feature improved first 2 campaign missions, but I pleaded with them to add the skirmish too, and by the time this demo comes online, we will see did they listen to me.
This is our darkest hour.
Valeria, come! Quickly!
From the previous playtest, they implemented a ton of feedback we all gave them, including changing the attack move to A plus left click, adding hotkeys for recruitment and construction, cues for movement on the shift key, and even made the hero unit possible to revive so you no longer instantly lose if they die during a mission. They also told me they made the game look even better. The only reason I don't believe the indie team about that is because I don't know what they could have done to make it look even better than it did in the previous playtest. Just kidding, of course, there is always room for improvement, but for a small indie studio this is top of the line graphics and animations already. Another playtest that you can jump into, and this one is already live, is of Coloniser, that medieval sort of MMORTS game I showed you a few times already. But do note, there is also going to be a public demo released on Steam on the 9th of February. With servers live, players are already setting up massive sprawling settlements and surrounding them with castles, high walls and amassing armies. The map scale is huge, so it allows for dozens of players to coexist in alliances or as warring factions across it at the same time. Now Coloniser has new defeat conditions and game modes. There is Extinction, where you play until your capital is destroyed, all your units are annihilated and their recruitment buildings destroyed. The other mode, Conquest, lets you play until you lose both your capital and your main character called Justicar, and this playtest will run with those rules. Devs have worked on various quality of life improvements, diplomacy, valor generation, score tracking, and of course a lot of unit balancing. If you want to learn how to play Coloniser, do check out my in-depth video linked up here and down in the description. As I said in the intro, I have many playtests and demos to share with you, and this one is of the real-time city builder and wave survival gameplay from Here Comes the Swarm. This is just one of many playtests that is going to be part of the Steam Next Fest, starting on the 23rd of February and lasting until March, but it has a small demo that you can try already on its Steam store page. The full game will be launched in 2026. But you can actually already apply for closed beta in their Discord and Steam page. So not only does it have a small demo, a closed beta so you can test its endless mode, but it will have the playtest I mentioned during the Steam's Next Fest. A trifecta on this one. Developers have added new events, new essences, as well as a new offensive deity. Deities in Here Comes the Swarm are basically upgrade paths, which are drawn as constellations of various animals, and their divine powers help you during your playthrough. So you have essences, which are a sort of power-up that you assign when preparing to go into a new game to the constellation of the chosen deity. This makes it a customizable talent tree, which you can empower during your gameplay with resources, creating custom builds per run. This is a game where you can find the most appropriate difficulty at which you can enjoy it, and the game respects your time when a run goes sideways. Even if you fail to complete a skirmish, you can still unlock new essences, meaning each new attempt adds new capabilities to your toolkit, keeping the next run fresh rather than frustrating. Next up, we have a demo you can already download and play on this game's Steam store page. It is titled Atom Assault, and it is the work of a lone indie dev behind the Nuke Them All game, which was his previous project. Now he is making a fully 3D RTS that has two players fighting each other on destructible maps. In addition to nukes and airstrikes, which you can drive into the enemy's base manually in first person, there are zombie bosses which come out to play at night. You can construct towers and walls to protect your base, have to collect resources to fund them, and send out infantry, aircraft and tanks to attack your enemy. If it reminds you of the Z game or some other ones from the 90s, that is by design. Another demo of yet another solo indie developer's RTS is of Astro Industry Wars, but that one is only available at itch.io. The setting is the future on alien planets, while the gameplay is not rich in features right now. You have several types of combat units, base building and a few production chains, while your unit roster is customizable through a loadout system. The dev will appreciate any and all feedback you can give him, so this is your opportunity to help him out while you can wishlist the game on Steam. I know how much you are excited for the demo of Sanctuary Shattered Sun, but until it is finally released for all of us to play it, I want to show you some brand new footage of the game in testing, as devs played several multiplayer matches and played around with the game's units editor style. They also talked about many important subjects, like unit counterplay, victory conditions, functionality of multiplayer, spectator mode and many others. You can watch the entire video on their channel, and I will link it in the description below. What I want to mention is the tier 4 units that we got a sneak preview of, like the massive railgun sniper or mobile shield. Each faction is going to get a few units and structures inside the tier 4 tech level. That means a few land ones, several air and even some naval tier 4 units. One more interesting fact is that devs confirmed that we are going to be able to reclaim map objects, which spawn with the map at the start of each match, and turn them into resources. I'm going to hopefully come back to Sanctuary Shattered Sun with a definitive date on a public playtest in one of my next RTS news videos, so until then, I suggest you give the mentioned video a watch. When it comes to updates on already released games, I must mention two important facts about the definitive edition of Stronghold Crusader, which some of you probably already played and even brought on Steam. First of all, devs recently made a major winter update, and with it came the spectator mode, letting you go as far as watching an AI-only skirmish match and enjoying the spectacle. You can also try the new Caravan of the Camel's Trail in the co-op, which spans 10 missions. And for those most hardcore among you, the extreme difficulty setting has arrived to test your nerves and favorite strategies in both classic Trails and Sands of Time. While for those with the creative flair, the most interesting news will be the addition of the Castle and AI Lord Editor tool, as well as the Custom Trail Maker, both of which are supported by Steam's Workshop. There is more, of course, like a free map pack, but I should also mention the two new AI Lords, the Lioness and the Sergeant, which are part of the new already available DLC, and with 9 missions long Trail of the Cobra. If you have been enjoying this game since its launch, do let me know, was it all you wished for from this remaster of sorts. Now I know Broken Arrow is an RTT game and so no base building, but I also know that some of you play it, so let me tell you what is new on that front, because there is a lot. The publisher and developers decided to make the first DLC a freebie, so we all get the new Baltic Battalion and its US deck, which specializes in combined military forces of Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. This deck is geared out with weapons and vehicles made in Europe, almost 20 of them, and infantry units from the named nations, despite being part of the US faction. Which begs the question, why not just have an EU faction? Then again, having US decks go up against EU decks in the multiplayer might be hitting too close to home for some, even in a game about military what-if scenarios. As for other updates about Broken Arrow, you should know the developers added AI for skirmish and especially made sure for it to play as our teammate. Along with that, they worked on multiplayer network stability and more informative and match statistics screens. Once the new update goes live, it will of course bring balancing and some new quality of life improvements like unit rearming while inside transports, but more interestingly, emergency airdrops. What this means is that we are going to be able to deploy airborne units almost instantly. As for replays and save options, we just have to keep waiting. Like in most of my videos, I love to show you brand new indie projects I find or their developers find me. So here is Machinefall, which even has a demo on Steam. The idea behind it is to have truly large-scale battles on a massive map and also lots of base building and resource management. This game is set in a post-apocalyptic world and your enemies are more mechanical than natural. What's very interesting is that the game is also to feature a progression system where you move through tech levels and bring humanity back to the atomic age through a large tech tree. Try it and let me know, is it worth wishlisting. And another game you can try out is Dawn of Defense, which as the name might suggest isn't a full-fledged RTS, but sort of a strange mix between tower defense and offense because you do get to control your own units and attack the enemy's base. Its playtest is going to run from the 6th to the 10th of February and they might extend it if players request it. The playtest allows us to check out their procedurally made maps, enjoy the fresh visuals with a day and night cycle, upgrade our own tower as well as to unlock more unit types, perks and buildings using the runestone system at the core of the game. I hope you will give it a shot and share your feedback with the developers to give them pointers about how to make this the best mix of genres. Now I hope you can forgive me, but I'm going to take you a bit sideways from the real-time strategy gameplay with base building and almost into the realm of real-time 4X games with Atre Dominance Wars, which also has a playtest this weekend. What's really funny about it is that it is being made by indie RTS game developers who even worked on titles like Zero Space. So in light of this, and because I know many of you play more than just RTS games, I started my second channel, which is dedicated to other strategy subgenres and called it, in a brilliant flash of inspiration, Paraphilosoph 2. I know. In any case, I was positively blown away by how well made this game is and how gorgeous it looks. You can check out my video about it, linked up here and down in the description. Simply put, it plays kind of like Heroes but in real time, with only combat being turn-based, but the map gameplay is something you have never seen before, and I don't dare spoil it for you, so I wholeheartedly recommend you try this one out as well. A game which I haven't mentioned many times since its release, but whose developers did a lot of work on recently, is Annihilate the Spance. If you have never heard of it before, it has a very special kind of gameplay in a single-player campaign. You do get to build bases, in fact huge bases in space made up of resource-gathering buildings as well as shipyards. But you don't directly control these ships as they keep getting constructed and launched into the fray, but give them particular waypoint orders fleet-wide like an admiral of sorts. Lately, devs have improved the level editor and added a new mini-faction in addition to making modding possible and making more maps for the skirmish game mode. They have made more changes, particularly to campaign missions and UI, but I hope that you will get into the game and experience it for yourselves, especially as it has a demo available on its Steam store page. My next update on a game that is already out is about Dying Breed, that post-apocalyptic full-on retro RTS that has some wild units and even wilder enemies. Its latest content updates improved UI, maps and introduced a limit on the number of units that can be garrisoned per structure, while shipyards now actually automatically repair nearby damaged naval units. Developers even added new FMV sequences, which are one of the most interesting old-school features of this game. There are more changes and fixes you can find in its patch notes, but what is most important is that more of you actually buy this game and support its developers if you want more such games to be made in the future. Too often I see developers who try to innovate and not manage to sell many copies, but also those who stick to what made old school games fun and yet they too don't sell many copies. I understand quality is in the fingers of the players, so I hope devs add a demo for their game. And speaking of innovation, what is more insane than having the battlefields you fight on to be planets, but which can be shaped as hearts, cogs, pyramids, and basically anything other than spheres? This is the idea behind Unnatural Worlds, which is an apt name if there ever was one. Its solo indie dev posted an update on his progress in sort of overview of his work for the past year. You can read it on Steam, while these clips are showing you both units and buildings you can recruit and construct on these oddly shaped worlds. There are two factions right now in the game, one biological and the other technological, which are designed to be asymmetrical, but both have units which shoot in arcs, so that you can use the shape of the battlefield to your advantage in combat. There is a tech tree, but with an original twist to it and lots of other features I hope you will discover in the next demo. For now the plan is for an early access release at the end of 2026, but I hope you wishlist it now. Since this video is filled with space games, I would like to share some development updates about Astra's Sentinel as well, but also tell you about its upcoming demo during the Steam Next Fest in February. This game is going to have a story-driven campaign with almost 20 missions, along with a survival game mode and its 25 difficulty levels. And if you pass all of those, then you unlock the special Oblivion mode, where the aim is not to survive, but reach a high score. The gameplay is based on defense, so you get to build 2D defenses around your planets, taking advantage of asteroid belts, well-placed energy shields and turrets, along with several kinds of ships, each with a special role. Since you need resources for these, you also take over planets and develop your production chains on them. This next solo-developed RTS holds to the more basic RTS concepts, but not without some interesting quirks of its own. Developed by a person who already has a game titled Chrono Commander under his belt, Chrono Commander is his next iteration, where you can rewind time and fight alongside your past self. It will have both single and multiplayer game modes, as well as several factions with unique tech and units, including aliens. This means ground, air and naval units, as well as time portals, cloaking devices, EMP, and of course the good old nukes. Modding is planned with an in-game editor. Yet another game whose playtest you can apply for is Dino Lords, and it too has its own original twist to the gameplay, which is given away by its title. The main idea is about giving players a protagonist with which they can do some hacking and slashing, but integrated into an RTS battlefield with base building and other units to control. This means that while you do build your own castle and prepare it for defense, which you take part in yourself, you also get to explore the map on Dinoback and even do some raiding of your own. The devs seem confident this wild mix of genres can work, and I honestly would love to see it work, and I bet there are more of you who are interested in seeing it work. So, like many others have done already, wishlist it and apply for the playtest. Since I am a big fan of space battles, I can't pass up the opportunity to tell you what is new with NEBULOUS Fleet Command. Its small but dedicated team of developers have planned and are now executing plans for a single-player campaign, and the release should be in 2026, featuring even co-op play. They actually recruited among their fans for voiceovers because their players applied themselves. The same is possible for testing this new campaign, so if you want, you can apply to try the work in progress and give your feedback to the developers directly. In addition to this massive content update, they are working on a graphics overhaul for ships and making replenishment ships as a new class, in addition to scavenging wrecks for ammo, which is just an offshoot of the new boarding mechanics. Here is another game whose sole indie developer found me and wanted to show his upcoming game on my channel, especially as he will release a demo of it during the Steam's next fest. This game is titled Terra Division, and it is the rare type that mixes FPS with RTS elements. He created 4 units controllable in first person, each with a special use. He is planning on a full campaign, while the demo will feature its first mission. There is also a simulation mode, so you can test units, and a base defense wave survival mode, which is still in early stages of development. If you think you might enjoy this gameplay, look up Terra Division's demo once the next fest starts and wishlist his game now. Another space game, and this one from a solo indie dev, is Phantom Havoc. And since I have shown it to you before, you might already know it is somewhat similar to Homeworld. This new footage is fresh and straight from its developer. As you watch it, you should keep in mind that here too you build a persistent fleet and guard survivors of humanity in a search for a new world to make their own. There is a lot to do with tech research, constructing strongholds and collecting resources, but most interesting perhaps is that you can take control of individual ships to captain them in combat. Phantom Havoc has a very particular dark and foreboding atmosphere about it, and the dev has kept it through entire development. It is being prepared for a release on Steam soon, so I hope you will wishlist it if you haven't already. Last one for this RTS news video is a new game I found recently titled Veterans Napoleonic Wars. Not much can be seen or read about it, but the idea looks to be for a historical tactical game with full armies under your control. Units like infantry, cavalry and artillery will be controllable through formations, having stats like morale and fatigue, while the combat will be influenced by line of sight, weather, smoke and terrain. More on this in future videos. If you want to find more new and upcoming games, check out the cards on the screen or links in the description. Thank you for watching and happy gaming!